Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot. Oh my! It's just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Psychic medium Helene Olson and paranormal researcher Patricia Baker. Here are Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Supernatural Girlz. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my guest co-host, numerologist astrologer Patricia Kirkman. Hi, Patricia.
Well, good evening. Gosh, it's fun to be here today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me on the show. You know, Helene, lucky lady, is on vacation this week.
Isn't that special? She didn't even offer to take us.
Now, what's up with that? She left us
We're
behind.
going to have a chat with her.
I know, really.
We're going to name a street after her, one way. She's the only one that gets to go.
Yeah, no fun, no fun. Well, I'm sure she will share all of the fun when she gets back. She'll tell us what a great time she had, and it is truly a much-deserved vacation for her. So I'm happy.
Great.
I know you are too. So, but anyways, thank you for stepping in to fill those shoes. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for asking, because they're pretty big shoes to fill. I'll tell you, she is special in her own right. So it's very nice that you've asked me. I appreciate that.
Well, it's a pleasure having you here. And now you're all the way out in Tucson, and as you know, Helene and I have a little thing going about the weather. So tell us what's going on in Tucson.
Well, right now we're in the middle of the start of our monsoon season.
Oh, yippee.
Between the dust storms and the rain, which we were praying for, and I'm glad that we've gotten some. But it's been overcast today, but it's humid, and we're not used to humidity.
You're in the desert.
No, and I tell you, we don't know when it's going to start. And the thing here, when the rains start, we are in really deep doo-doo because they have these washes that people drive through, and they keep saying, don't go in the wash when it's wet like that, when there's water in them, because it's running. It'll take you away. They don't believe it. So 2 days ago, they had the fire trucks come out, and they had to put hook and ladder across these cars to get the people out of the cars that are sitting in these washes.
Oh, goodness. You know, I've heard about this, and it's something we just don't see out here in the East. But we've heard and seen terrible videos of people getting washed away by this stuff. They think they can make it across, but that's not a good idea to try it.
Well, the strange part is they don't look like they're very deep, and for the most part they're not, but the pull of the water, people do not realize how strong it is. And we have what they call a haboob, which is a dust storms between Phoenix and Tucson, that when the storms come up, you can't even see across the road. And if you try to stop, you can't turn your lights off because somebody will run in the back of you not knowing you're there. And they have, they had a 10-car pileup not too long ago, and they had something the other day. And it is treacherous, but the weather it's divine to have water. Everything was so brown and curled up. We have what we call an acacia, which is a long spear that has these little tiny leaves. And this time of the year, it just looks like long, thorny spears. 2 days of rain, they're lush. They're absolutely gorgeous in greenery. Oh, just fabulous looking.
So everything just comes to life when you have these monsoons.
That's for sure.
Well, it's exciting, though, living out in the desert. You face a whole other list of challenges. I mean, we face our winters, which the last one went on forever. But, again, now we're here happy as clams at high tide because we've got beautiful weather. We've been having storms every night, but it's been really warm during the day, and all the people complaining about the heat now, I just think back on those days of snow and freezing cold, and I am happy it is warm.
I used to live in Maryland, so I remember the winters well, and I am thoroughly delighted with the heat. Even when this a week or so ago we had 107 and 108, and one day it was 112. But they don't last that long. And besides, you can stay inside in the air conditioning.
That's true. You guys are all set up for air conditioning out there, so that's good.
For sure.
Well, now we've done our tradition. We've done the weather.
Well,
we've got an interesting star for you to talk about today. You've got Nina Dobrev, who is one of the fabulously talented stars in The Vampire Diaries, big hit show on the CW network. I love it. I've watched it since the very beginning, and she's really grown up through the series and been through some interesting changes. So do tell, what do you see with this lady by the numbers?
Well, she is a very, very interesting soul. She is multitasking in her own right, as she is the two partners she's playing, which I find very interesting. But she has some issues when it comes to having to learn to stand on her own 2 feet. Until she decided she could do it on her own, she's always been struggling. But once she faced the music, and if she's going to do it, she's got to do it her way, and it will work. And so she has a 19-1 number, which is it has a effect on people that if they don't do it themselves, they keep getting a kick in the backside until they finally decide to stand up and do it on their own, which is ironic because this is also the destiny number of George Clooney.
Oh, my goodness. And we started talking about him several weeks back. So
right.
That's very interesting. Now, does she also have the same personality stuff that he has going on?
No, in
very
his
quirky.
case, he has very low self-esteem, and this young lady knows exactly who she is.
Oh, big difference there then.
Oh, you betcha. You betcha. I think if you take a look at her chart, and if you've really got a chance to know her better, where she would give you a little bit more insight in who she is, I think we'd find that there were some major issues with the father figure, and that is one of the reasons there are relationship issues with her in this lifetime. She has to come to terms with how to deal with the men in her life.
Not easy.
Not only in the part, but outside of the part.
Ooh, so maybe this part that she's playing, it's not so unusual in terms of the stuff she's facing in her life. Wow. Because in the role she plays, I mean, it's a difficult position to be in between these two men, and I mean, it's painful to watch sometimes. So I can't imagine having something like that in your life. It's got to be ick.
Well, when you look at her lifestyle here, she's extremely hard-headed. And she likes to do things her own way, but she gives and takes equally well. But when it comes to her area of work, she's extremely creative to the point of being a little on the anal side of how she sees things. And she is very flexible, but she wants whatever she does to be perfect, which is kind of hard for people that you're playing with or playing against if you want perfection, because you're going to demand it of them as well.
Yes.
And when it comes to family issues in this lifetime, she tries to give more than she should, and it doesn't work out. So then she'll pull back and wait for others to give to her. And then when that doesn't work, it's almost like watching a ping pong game. In the relationship, out of the relationship. Should I be in it? Should I get out of it? But she gives a lot, but she also expects a lot. So that being, she's very determined to make things happen her way. As we well know, life doesn't work that way.
Yeah, relationships are challenging, and it is all about a give and take, and you really have to understand where to draw that line in the sand and which battles to fight and which ones to let go. And it's not that easy sometimes. But she's changed a lot, hasn't she, through the last couple of years? Numerologically, definitely. Are you seeing that?
Oh, most definitely. The thing is, she's in an 8 personal year this year. The 8 personal year says, I'm in charge. I know what I'm doing. Get out of my way. I can control everything. Well, this is totally different from someone that was, I'm not quite sure what to do, as she was last year and the year before, when it was all about relationships and being more of the team player. So this year she's more about, show me the money, I'm doing it this way because I said so.
Okay.
It makes a difference, and watch how she plays the different aspects in the roles of Elena and Catherine.
Ah, okay. I can't wait to see what happens this season. It's a really interesting show. Yes,
it's going to be very interesting, and she goes by Nina, but Nicolina is the given name. So it makes her very detailed about everything, and she knows how it's supposed to be by her standards.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more need to give and take than she's ever done before.
I see. Well, and you and I discussed too, Patricia, that we've looked at Supernatural and the cast there, and we've looked at a little bit of Orphan Black. We looked at one of the writers and the creators, and we looked at Tatiana Maslany and Jordan, who plays Felix, and all of these casts kind of have their own energy to them. And now we're going to be talking about the Vampire Diary cast, which is a pretty big cast. They have a lot of people. They all are just impossibly beautiful and handsome and talented, yet it's a very different energy than the other casts that we've been discussing.
Definitely.
The other ones are more, you said, spiritual in nature.
This
one is a little different.
Yeah, the others are much more spiritual. In her, she's very impatient and impulsive, and she responds without thinking sometimes. That has a lot to do with how she portrays what she's doing, but she's very black and white about it. And that creates some issues in its own right. So being in an 8-year, she wants to control everything, but she's getting ready to go into her 9-year. By September, October, she'll be in her 9. Well, that's great for anyone in the entertainment business. So she's doing right now is she's dragging her feet to try to prove who she is, when all she has to do is follow the pebbles, and she'll get what she needs in a way that she hasn't expected yet.
Wow, so she has to let go of some of that control.
That's for sure. That's for
Not
sure.
Easy. Not easy at all.
She's very black and white about what she sees things to be. And like I said, she wants things perfect. There's a lot of 4s in her chart. 4 meaning by the book, structured, square. And that coming from 3 or 4 different areas in the major chart when we're only looking at 9 different places. That says she's rather hard-headed.
She's one of the hard-headed girls. Well, I understand that.
Not you or I, but her.
No. That couldn't be us. Are you kidding me?
No, definitely not. I would never think of doing that.
Oh, no, I could never be hard-headed. Right.
No.
So, well, she is very beautiful. She's very talented. We certainly wish her the best in her personal life as well as her career. And next week we'll be talking about another star from the show. And we'll keep going till we've gone through the cast, and then we're going to just talk again about the comparisons between Supernatural, Vampire Diaries, Orphan Black. We've got many more to talk about because there's some great
I want to give you one little tidbit that I got a kick out of. Her nickname is Almond.
Almond?
Almond.
And the reason is?
That there's nothing showing. How come? That's her nickname.
Huh.
And that A up front, remember I said to you one time, A is like a sawhorse on a construction site. It doesn't budge for anybody. So considering that we're seeing all these 4s in her chart, and that A up front, my way or the highway.
Wow, well, I'm getting out of her way.
Interesting to watch this young lady. It's going to be very interesting to watch her progress.
Well, I just can't wait. I honestly cannot wait to see what happens. Again, it's a great show on CW. It'll be beginning again in the fall. I can't wait to see the premiere on that one and follow it all the way through. Very well written, very well acted, and again, very talented cast. I just don't know where they find these people, but they have found them, and it's all great chemistry. It's wonderful to watch. So,
it's new and vibrating.
Yes, it's new and it's very cool stuff. So tonight we have very cool stuff. We have an incredible guest coming up. His name is Orion Foxwood, and he is the author of a book you and I both loved. It's called The Candle and the Crossroads, a book of Appalachian conjure and Southern root work. And, you know, I was not even aware there was such a thing as Appalachian conjuring and Southern root magic. That was all new to me. Now, were you surprised to read this?
I was stunned. In fact, I got started going through the book, and I kept wanting to draw something else, and I'd read something else, and I have to go back and double-check, is that what I really saw? It is very, very interesting.
Well, I think it's one of the best books I've read in a long time, and you know, we read a lot of books for this show, so it was just a pleasure to read this book. I highly recommend it. I mean, it grabbed me from the first paragraph. I was hooked on this book, and Orion is a fabulous, fabulous writer, and you know, he gets it. You know, he gets it on so many different levels. So it's somebody who really knows this stuff. He's been trained, and we want to hear from him. But now I see he's back and available. Now, I also want to let everybody know that Orion is kind enough to come on the show, and he's not feeling all that great. He's a little bit under the weather, actually a lot under the weather, but he's graciously decided that, yes, the show must go on, and I'm very, very grateful to have him here with us, and we're going to go for as long as he can stand it. So it's kind of going to be like a little bit of Survivor tonight. How long can you stand it? Will you survive? So I know that Orion has
good energy.
He's got wonderful energy, and he has got so much great stuff to share. So, Orion, welcome to Supernatural Girlz.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's good to be on here. I'm really honored to be on, and thank you for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure, and I know everybody's very grateful that you're here because they're all fascinated by this subject. And we alerted everybody you're not feeling all that great tonight, so you just keep us posted on your status. And meanwhile, we will ply you with questions. So we'll keep it easy for you. But again, this book, Orion, it's just fabulous. And again, everybody, you should buy this book. It is on Amazon.com. It is called The Candle and the Crossroads, a book of Appalachian conjure and Southern root work. Now, give us the picture. How did this get started in your life?
Well, first, thank you for those kind words on the book, and I'm so glad you enjoyed it, and I hope it upholds your spiritual work, and and any of the readers, and listeners who read this work. Really, where this book started out. Well, I should say there's never been a time in my life that really this book wasn't there. It just hadn't been written down. I grew up down in the Shenandoah Valley. Just outside Winchester, Virginia, beautiful place, and also a place where there's a synergy of cultures, of the Appalachian culture coming down out of mostly the Massanutten Channel, the west tip of the valley, the Blue Ridge.
Beautiful part of the country.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh my God,
it is
ancient. Yeah, those are ancient mountains there, and it's. And then just Southern culture, and of course this is Virginia. This is the center of the slave belt too. But with that comes along with the ugly of the slave trade was the influence of African tribal practices wherever the slave trade happened. So you'll see places throughout the South where there's this syncretic practice of at its core African tradition, and depending on which tribe was imported in that area, it will influence what kind of practices, what they look like, and Native American.
Yes, that's right. You had that influence there as well, very strong.
So I grew up around a lot of this stuff. All through my life, and I got to be real. In terms of writing this book, it was another author that sat down and told me, because he knew about the other things I wrote on and the other work I do, and he said, I love that, Orion, and I really honor it. He said, but your spiritual strength and the core of your own, I guess if you want to call that personal power, spiritual power, is always going to be your culture. It's always going to be in your roots. So I really have to credit this man with turning my attention back towards the value, because when as you know, when you grow up with certain things, you don't know the value of them.
That's true.
You don't, and in fact, sometimes you just want to get away from them, because you think, oh, those are weird things, or they're outworn things, or old country things, only to grow up and get a little life under your belt, find out that there was, really profound, simple wisdom and direct,
True gifts.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
It's amazing with this book, Orion, because you have gotten accolades from so many of the big names in magic, witchcraft, conjuring. I mean, people have really complimented you on this book. And when I got this book, it's funny, it sat here for, I think, a couple months. We were trying to get you scheduled for the show, and it kept calling to me. It was, there's some books just call your name, it's like, read me. And your book was one of them. And I just didn't have time. I had a lot of other things on my plate, but this book really called to me. And when I finally picked it up, the words just jumped off the page. You understand so many things on a very deep level. Now, this comes from also, you have quite some characters in your life. Now, is it your mother, your grandmother? Tell us about some of the people in your life that taught you and showed you the way.
Well, and it's funny when I think of the word, like who taught me, because the earliest parts of my growth in root work and conjure work was not like someone doing a classroom or nothing like that. It was just stuff, one of my neighbors would do, or stuff other elders in the community would do, or stuff that my mother would do, and you would just learn because you saw it, you were around it, you were exposed to it. But a little bit about kind of the family history that I think really kind of brings some of the soulfulness to this, and because folks who read the book, in fact, my publisher, if I may digress, said to me when she first read the manuscript, the woman who was reviewing it, she called me up. She was kind of teary-eyed on the phone, and she said, Ryan, this was like reading an occult country song. Isn't that sweet? And she got the soulfulness because, as I was writing this, in the most beautiful ways, I was being haunted by the people, some of the people who carved the very core of who I am out. My mama, my sister, my neighbor, Miss Atwood, Miss Granny, I guess to tell you a little bit about these folks, the first thing to know is our family. My mother was born with the veil. My sister was born with the veil, and I was, which is what in some other cultures is called the call, which denotes the second sight, or the spirit sight. So that is the first thing, I guess, to understand about what sort of colored my life experiences. From the very beginning, not only was I having experiences with the spirit world, but it was normal to have those experiences, meaning I was growing in a culture, family and locally, that still had a reverence for the second sight. And so there's that piece, and I call that a sacred permission. And I don't think I wrote about that in the book, meaning sacred permissions, but sacred permissions are ways that people or your culture or events in your life give you permission to grow or give you permission to not shut something down. Sort of like when a dear friend has lost a beloved and you say to them, it's okay to cry, or it's okay to be angry. Well, that's a sacred permission. Well, my mama and my sister and so many of the folks who grew up with gave me the sacred permission, even before I started seeing, or even noticing, I should say, the root work, to be in a natural living relationship with the spirit world. So for me, I don't see the spirit world and this world. I just see the spirit world. You know?
So you see it as all one?
It's all
There's
spirit. It's all
no
spirit.
delineation saying it's us or them or it's here or there. It's all one.
Yeah, those are all sort of zip codes, you know. They're just
That's a neat way of putting that.
Yeah.
Sort of continuum of life. And this is going to sound straight out of a book. Well, I guess it is my book, right? But my mama was. She was actually she was born on a plantation. Her mom and dad were sharecroppers. She was born in January 2nd, 1934, which comes out to 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's something.
Yeah.
And her back then, I mean, these were Appalachian sharecropping folk. They weren't poor; they were po. They couldn't afford that other OR.
Yeah, I loved it when I saw that in the book. That is so precious.
And so she didn't, you know, she wasn't born in a hospital. She was actually born in the slaves' quarters. And the woman who was her midwife, we all affectionately knew as Miss Granny. Miss Granny was a freed slave. Now, what befuddles folks is they'll go, there's no way, Orion. You know, the Civil War has been over so long ago. When you start doing the math, you start realizing it's really not that far away. So there was the effect of that, and Miss Granny, I know, shared things with my mom's sayings, and you know, and intensely affected her as a woman of faith, but also in the way that Mom would do, you know, prayer and healing, and that sort of, and those sorts of practices. And then just living in the valley and traveling throughout the valley, you know, she picked up other things because Mom worked as an orcharder a lot, and also, you know, with these sharecroppers, you know, picking up these different folk practices. So that's kind of the early parts, really, and I'd say it was really Mom and Miss Granny were the ones who affected me the most. And what I wrote about in the book. Yeah.
When you talk about her in the book, I was fascinated because you talk about her always wearing white, but never getting even a spot on any of her clothes. So she was always in these beautiful white outfits, you said, down to the white shoes, just like a nurse would wear.
Well, and you know, what was fascinating about that, and you can imagine, and I see this through the eyes of a little kid, this woman, you know, grew all her own food, and she butchered her chickens, and you know, all her meat. She farmed her meat and then butchered them, and so that's pretty. All of that's grueling work, you know.
Yes,
and
definitely.
Never did I ever see her with any dirt on her, ever. And she said things like, "Well, you know, darling, I'm covered by the blood," in meaning of Jesus, you know, and she was just saying that she was covered, you know, by the Spirit, and that things
totally
couldn't
protected.
stay on her. She's an amazing woman. I only got to know her for a short period because, you know, she was real old, you know, when I was little, but enough that she made indelible marks.
Do you feel that she's with you now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, you know, when I was writing the book, it was very emotional in the most beautiful kind of way, writing this book, because, again, I was visiting some of the most sacred, I guess, events and experiences and people in my life, all of whom are dead now, you know, all of whom are in that side of the spirit world. And so one of the things I came out of the book with was to recommend to folks sometime in your life, write a book about your own life, even whether you ever publish it. or not, and let some of the voices that are sitting inside your spirit that you may have even shelved while you got busy doing other things. You know, like you grow up and you go and you get your jobs and, you know, all the different life changes, maybe have children, all those things. There can be all of these little wonderful things of your past, voices of your past, words of your past, sacred permissions, all kinds of things that were given to you very young, but they no longer, they may every now and again pop into your head or you know, or you just don't think about it much. And then, but as you start to write, you pull them back out and really look close, you start to realize that's the very foundation of who you are. And you find yourself filled with, I think, an overwhelming gratitude, you know.
But you certainly had a very unusual upbringing, and it's with some very powerful women in your life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that definitely shaped my relationship with women. Well, and also, you know, these women, they were just powerful. They held it all. They held the household together. But, you know, Southern women are.
Very
Southern
strong.
Women,
very strong.
They're a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, so, yeah, I grew up with a definite love of powerful women, you know, and just, you know, their wisdom.
But it's made you so gentle in how you see things and you relate to things that it makes us even look at things more deeply. When I was reading your book, the elements of it, it is so open. It's almost like looking into a crystal. There's so many different facets coming back at us from what you're writing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I was really trying to be true to my spirit. And, you know, I just don't want to write books that aren't remedial, you know, that aren't prescriptive in some way for some malady of the spirit out there. If there's anything I want to know is when I'm done walking in this incarnation, this lifetime, this embodiment, I want to know that I've left some stuff behind that will, in some simple way, you know, help other people towards a better, more spiritual, clearer life, you know.
I loved the phrase when you said, what's in God's toolbox and when to use it. I thought that is so interesting because, you know, many times we keep thinking, I'll save that for later. I'll hold on till later. But we never get around to using it. So it's nice to know that we have permission to do so.
Oh, it's true. Well, and that's just the truth. And that is simple wisdom right there that most of the time we have all the answers we're looking for already. We've probably already gathered them. But, you know, what's that? I think I saw it on a bumper sticker. It said, life is what happens when you're busy doing something else.
Oh, I'm a firm believer of that one. For sure. That's wonderful. You know, I find that when you were talking about the early root of the book being in the Bible, and we look at so many different aspects of things that I never thought about using the root area when we're going to the Bible. And when you made mention of the prayer candles, and I'm thinking, wow, all these things that we've seen, we use it for different religious ceremonies or churches and whatever, but this is the first time in a long time that I've stopped and thought about what it actually meant. And thank you for bringing that back to my attention through your book.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. There was no way I could write a book on Southern Conjure and not mention the Bible. There's just no way because they use it so much in root work, whether that's in the prayers, whether that's in fixing candles, fixing baths, whatever. One of my, I got a funny little Bible story for you, if I might tell you.
Go ahead.
This wonderful woman, she was a root worker, and she would, when she was praying, over someone, she would use these and thous, that kind of language. And so one day I asked her, I said, why are you doing that? She goes, well, honey, that's how God talks. So if you read the Bible here, you'll see that's how God talks. If you talk like God talks, then it's got to work.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that is so sweet. That is so sweet.
She was the one, too, that she lived up in Paw Paw, West Virginia, and she said this wonderful thing. This man had come in to see her for cleansing work, prayer work, and I guess he'd come in multiple times with the same problem, and multiple times she gave him, do these prayers, read these psalms, take this bath made of these ingredients. She gave him a whole thing to do. And she fixed up a batch of stuff for him. Well, this time he came in, same problem there it was. And she just looks at him. She goes, you sit down, boy, like that. And, of course, I'm over towards the edge. I thought, I'm not going to say nothing. She's not going to throw a lightning bolt up my honey. So she said, you do everything I told you to do. And he said, no, not everything. And then, of course, that got her really angry. And so she said, son, you would do life, and here's where just simple wisdom, you would do better to live your life and to grow your spirit like you were growing a garden rather than living in a firehouse.
Oh, like that.
Very unique.
Yeah,
very unique.
Yeah, you got to weed it, feed it, and seed it.
Yes. How apropos. It covers the whole spectrum, doesn't it?
Yeah, simply put, but powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she would also do this interesting thing when, speaking of the Bible, isn't it powerful? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip past that. I thought that was, back then I thought, what is this woman saying? And now as an adult, after living for a while, I'm like, ooh, I've had the weed, and I've had the feed, and I've had the seed. My own inner being, my own spirit, to as I said, heal it, reveal it, know it, grow it, She would do this interesting thing, too, where she would plant her seeds in the garden, and she would she'd go out, she'd take the Bible over them, and she would pat the Bible over the seeds she just planted, and that was to bring down the manna of heaven on the seeds.
Oh, my.
Isn't that neat?
And how you know?
Some of them, all of them worked with the Bible. Some of them more than others. Yeah.
And did you notice anything different about her seeds growing? I mean, did she have really healthy big plants, or?
Oh yes. She always, and I swear she was only 4 feet tall. She's tiny, strong. What is it about these tiny, strong ladies? A lot. So her garden definitely did good.
Wow.
I'm going to have to try that because I've got a garden. I'm going to take the Bible out there and do the same thing.
I was thinking the same thing of my poor plants that are looking at me on the back patio like, what are you doing to me with this heat?
Yeah.
What a great idea. Why not? After all,
hey, why
that's
not?
what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, we have pure intent here, and, we're connected, so why not?
That's right. That's right.
Now, Orin, I'm curious of something. When in the book you were talking about, how do you get the voice in your mouth? You made reference to the voice. How do I get the voice in my mouth? And I'm just curious because I read it a couple of times, and I'm either not interpreting it as it should be, or I'm trying to overdo it and not catching what I'm supposed to from it.
Well, there's a couple of I guess teachings that I'm getting at with that. On one end, it was what one needs to do if one is to become a root worker or a conjurer. On the other end, it was really also talking about how to raise your voice, your inner voice, or your prayer voice,
right,
up to almost like the sacred octave, And it's the thing about prayer is, people overly mystify it. When really it's not. It's just bringing yourself into presence with the living wholeness of spirit. It's sort of like I say, reunifying the wave with the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what happens when the wave is away from the ocean. It goes stagnant, or it evaporates.
Right.
And getting the voice is about. It can't happen through talking about prayer work. People have to pray, and they have to pray regularly, and they have to pray until they're overcome by their prayer. They call it praying true.
Mm-hmm.
That I grew up with. You'll hear that term in a lot of places in the South. And praying true means a person's ability or a person's gift, as they would say, to be able to pray and have things truly happen. But really what it meant was to become the prayer, to merge your spirit with the spirit, God, whatever you call the Omega. And often you have to sort of shake yourself up inside to get that to happen. An example of that is I'll be fixing a spiritual cleansing bath and doing a cleansing bath. I'll be in there, oh, Holy Formless Father that abides in the depths of the universe, whatever I call, oh, Lord, in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost. But I'll be in there, and I'll be going at it, and I'm praying down the power to the water, and I'm praying down the power onto each of the items I may have fixed up to put in that water to do cleansing. And then what's happened now is I'm not just approaching these aren't objects. That water's not an object. If it's a bath, maybe I've got some coffee, some lemon juice, some salt, in it. Each one of those things, they're not things, they're spirits, right? And then I'm asking those spirits, the water, these items, whatever else I'm using, for their help. But then I have to dip the spirit from God, from the spirit, to work through those items, to work through those sort of smaller spirits, to make the cleansing happen, right? And so my neighbors always say they can tell when I'm doing a spiritual cleansing on myself or I'm helping someone, and I'm really working hard on it, and I'm really dipping the spirit, I'm really pulling the spirit, I'm really raising my voice up to spirit and spirit's voice down to my mouth, because it sounds like a tent revival's going on in my bathroom.
Goodness.
Oh,
wow.
Yes, that is something. It's just amazing. So many things that you hear about, some things in different places, but to focus on all of this being gathered together in the Appalachia, I had no concept or any idea that such was taking place. I think it's fabulous.
I'm barely scratching the surface. That's at one area, really in the foothills of Appalachia. Are you talking northern or southern Appalachia? We're talking a broad, huge geographic region with a lot of different cultural mixtures. And then, of course, the African influence doesn't come up into Appalachia. The African influence was down in the valley, meaning in terms of that influenced my work. So what you hear in my book is you can hear the Appalachian influence, that Appalachian soulfulness, relationship to the land, relationship to the spirit. But then you'll hear graveyard magic, or they wouldn't have said magic, by the way. I never heard the word magic. They would have said graveyard work or crossroads work, and that's likely mostly African You know, that's the African influence. But you wouldn't get that up in the mountains. You got that down in the valley. You got that where the plantations were.
I see. Now, is there anything to do with the spectrum of the voodoo or things like that with the African culture? Is that have anything to do with that area, or is that more like the Jamaican area and such as this in the islands?
Well, I mean, I think that's a really good question. When you talk about conjure that has the African influence, and I say it that way because there's different forms of it, then it really depends on the tribe, right? Like, was it Ashanti? Is it Igbo? Is it a Congo tribe? Is it, you know, whatever the tribes were that came into that, were brought into that area. So, like, for instance, the word voodoo, which is an old Fawn word, is more of a Congo, that's a Congo practice. You wouldn't have seen voodoo. Well, voodoo is an Americanized version of an older word, voodoo. You would have seen voodoo in the area where I grew up. We had a lot of Igbo influence, which is Nigerian, which is one of the Nigerian tribes, where you see more of that kind of Congo influence. Was like in New Orleans, for instance, where you see New Orleans. But now, what'll happen with these practices is there are core, I guess, ways of seeing the world, core spiritual or spirit beliefs and practices that anyone from an African culture, if they saw me doing certain things. In fact, this just happened last year. This is a great story. I was in Canada teaching, and there was a wonderful Yoruban Babalawo there, a holy man, a priest, and he was there from Nigeria. And he was setting out in the group with a couple of his initiates watching me teach. At the end, he was just all happy, and he was so wonderful and gracious. He said, "Can I talk to you?" He said, well, this white man got up there, and a black man came out of his mouth, right? And he said, I need to, he said, what I was watching you do, you can't fake that. He said, how did that happen? That's amazing. And what we talked about is understanding the difference between culture and race, you know. And that's a very important thing to understand. So there were these African influences on my culture, even though I may be racially Caucasian. So that was a long way around the barn to answer that question you asked.
But very interesting, nonetheless.
Yes. Well, and we have so many more questions for you, but I'm going to just take a very short break here. Orion, give you a chance to get a sip of water or something and catch your breath. And then if anybody has a question, please feel free to call in. The phone number to call in is 646-478-0828. Again, the number is 646-478-0828, and we have questions in the chat room for you. So everybody, please stay tuned. It's a wonderful conversation tonight. We'll be right back.
This is Veronique Raskin, founder of the Organic Wine Company. As one of the pioneers of the Organic Wine movement, since 1980 I have brought you the very best and most authentic organic wines directly to your table. I work with small family estates who grow certified organic grapes and produce exceptional wines. You can purchase our wines individually from our website at theorganicwinecompany.com or join one of our wine clubs. Our organic wines are perfect for you and for your family as gifts for friends and relatives, and they are simply spectacular for the holidays. Visit us at theorganicwinecompany.com to enjoy the very best organic wines conveniently delivered to your door. I am Veronique Raskin, passionate about my mission. I offer to you vegan, organic, and biodynamic wines made by people of the heart, wines with a heart. Au revoir. Call us at 1-888-ECO-WINE.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We are having a wonderful time tonight with Orion Foxwood. He is the author of a terrific book, The Candle and the Crossroads, a book of Appalachian conjure and Southern root work. And, oh, my goodness, there's just so many questions running through my mind, Patricia. I just don't even know where to start.
I'm exactly where you are. I'm thinking of all these things. And, you know, I can't help it. I wonder what his middle name is, because that's his sensitive side.
Oh, well, we got to find out. We got to ask him. Orion, are you back on with us now?
I sure am.
Okay, what's your middle name?
We know Orion Foxwood's actually not my birth name.
What is your birth name?
It's a spiritual name. Well, I don't want to say the whole thing out there, but Kevin Michael.
Okay.
And Michael's my middle name.
Well, you know, because I'm looking at Orion Foxwood, it's all this energy about taking care of family and the world of those that we think of as family, which is exactly what you're doing. And I'm looking at it going, there's something missing here. So now you've given me the rest of the story. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Orion Foxwood came in that's a much longer story, but it's a spiritual name.
Mm-hmm. It's a great
I
name.
assumed it would be because it has such an impact that it's the worldly part is all about the spiritual part. And that's why when I'm looking at it, I go, there's something missing here. There's something more. So I had to ask. Thank you for answering.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. There was great wisdom in what you just said. What you said, oh gosh, you just said it so eloquently.
Strong spirituality for family, and everything you do is on behalf of the universe. And it is all about perfection in a spiritual way.
And, I think that's where we all kind of got to go with our work. There's this, I wrote something in there that I called, and this wasn't something I grew up with. This is something really, as I did deep work on myself, because, if we're going to work to help others, the platform for becoming a healer in the world is to heal ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
And certainly we're never done. We're all projects in process. And during the course of that, in prayer work and working with my spirits, I'd be going, what are the wounds in terms of humanity? Such an incredible creature. I mean, we're so artistic and curious and at our best, so loving and so just, a really, I think a real blessing, but we can also be
exactly,
not so good creature in the world. And I prayed strong on it over the years, and this illusion of isolation, the wound of the feeling of separateness with the wholeness of life, or as my elders said growing up, they said, always know this: the exile, the feeling of exile from Eden or exile from wholeness, or separateness from spirit is the thing that always wounds us most, and of course that's an illusion. So the more we can do on integration, and the more we can go deep into our spirits, and I went back when I asked my spirits and when I asked my own inner spirit by looking inwardly, what's that thing that everything we as healers, root workers, shamans, whatever words you use for the different practices, you do, what's that thing we need to aim most at? And that is certainly to become integrated, to become a whole, but to cast away the illusion of isolation from spirit, which brings the core wound of humanity. The core wound is abandonment pain.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. It really
very
does.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you also, talk about, as you just did, again, mentioning this in your book many times, magic is about transformation, alchemy of the soul. I mean, it's bringing you to this finely honed crystal or diamond state. And, it's an interesting thing because we've had a lot of people on the show that have talked about magic, and many of them, in fact, all of them have always said it's about transformation of the self. It's not about hurling curses at somebody. It's not about trying to make people do things that you want them to do. It's about changing the self. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree. In fact, the tone of my book was, in some ways, a little different than many of the books on conjuring root work out there. Not saying, better or worse, but I really wanted to focus on what you just said, and that was, certainly the healing of the soul, the wholeness of the soul, and then to focus on, and this is my personal definition, wasn't one given to me, that magic is the art of conscious creation. Magic is about unearthing the creator inside of us, and you were talking about that voice, you asked me about that voice of spirit inside us, that voice in our mouth, how to unearth that voice so that we are inflamed by that spirit, that piece of the one that sits inside of us, that was born to create, that was born to become whole. But if we do get distracted by using magic in those other ways, not only is it not good for the world, but it actually brings us into a further place of separateness, and a lack of wholeness, I think magic's very necessary now, too, because magic is about being in an active relationship with the larger body of the Creator, Magic's about being a finger on the grasping hand of the Creator, not being separate from the Creator, And I think when you step into that area of magic, then healing and cleansing have to come with you as a part of who you are and what you do. When I work with folks I often, or I'm teaching students, I say it's so important to clean out the hull of your ship. The clean up. I got that actually from Zora Neale Hurston. I'm sorry, I can't think. Zora Neale Hurston is one of my great sheroes. She once wrote in one of her books. She was a protege of Langston Hughes, an incredible African American pioneeress. And she said sometimes people can be slave ships in the shoes. And so we have to look at what needs to be emancipated within us, within the whole of our soul. What has to be cleared out of that? Because what's inside there is often what not only thwarts our happiness or our movement forward, but it shadows over everything, We have to know
there's a lot of work I'm sure you help people do with embracing their own shadow, facing their own shadow self or any places of darkness that they've turned away from, that they really have to, we all have to own that. Otherwise it has power over us, right?
Absolutely. We're puppeted by it. We're
good,
absolutely...
Good term. I like that. Yeah, puppeted by it.
Yeah, we're absolutely... And an interesting insight that I've found as I've worked with folks who don't do this work but who come to me for help is, and it has to do with the spiritual gasoline in their tank. So sometimes what I'll ask, my clients that'll come or people who come to my classes, I'll say, what really gets you moving more when you're really, really ticked off, when you're really angry, or when you're really, really happy? And I said, now, would you look within and look over your past and tell me when you see yourself burst forth with the most energy? Well, at least 90% of the time, they'll say when I'm, excuse my language, okay, ladies, when I'm pissed off. And I'll say, well, so you're confusing anger with life force. So a lot of spiritual work is about retraining our sort of inner palate to know the difference between what is true life force, what is true spirit motivation in us, and what is stuff inside of us that puppets us, especially things of the past, which is what I have to help cleanse people with a lot. I said sometimes the past, a trauma or something like that, can be like a zombie that can't eat enough of your now to fulfill its insatiable appetite.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, that is still sitting inside of someone that's occupying a piece of their soul.
When you teach a class or you work with people, where do you start with when you're working with someone? What you assume their issues are, or have them tell you what their issues are, or do you know when you're working with them? Does it just come out, shall we say?
Usually, when people come to me, well, it depends. Now, any traditional root worker I know of does a reading. They always do a reading. They always do some kind of a spiritual reading, whether that's with playing cards or the bones or the tarot or some form of reading, some way that they can do some assessment. So for instance, the person may walk in and they may be going, Orion, my money's bad. No matter what, I don't seem to be able to move ahead. In that way. Now, that may be the malady that they're walking in with, or what a root worker would say, the condition that they're reporting. But then as I do the reading, I may find out that, the real issue is about self-esteem. The real issue might actually be a multi-generational cultural curse in the family where there's a tradition in the family that's been passed on that maintains poverty as the norm, or has had so much trauma, maybe from the Great Depression or some horrible thing that's happened in family, that trauma is actually passed down from generation to generation to generation. So we have a person who's trying to move forward. So they come and say, Ryan, I don't understand what's going on. And I do a reading, and I go, what's ancestral? And they're looking at me going, what do you mean? I said, we've got to, one, get this condition cleaned off of you, but then also we can't fix this without the help of your ancestors because it came through them to you.
So now I just want people to know how to get a hold of you for a session. So where would they go? To orionfoxwood.com?
Absolutely. And there's a little button that will say contact us, and that shoots right to me. Okay, so that website for everybody who's listening is Orion Foxwood, which is your name, .com, and then you can schedule a session with Orion. Now, you do a couple of different sessions. I saw that on your website. And how long do they go for when you do a session like this? Is it like an hour and a half or an hour? It all depends on what the person's coming with. Usually what I recommend folks do is to get an hour. And then if in the course of the session, I'll let them know what the spirits are saying, what I see, the underlying issues, and what needs to be worked on to help, move them forward. And that also, by the way, may involve some things that they need to make that I'll be, telling them, you need to get this, you need to get this, you need to get this. Because also I like to give people things to do, not just do things for them, because that may grow my muscle, but it doesn't grow theirs. I know if they don't have anything to do, whether that's a bath, whether that's what we call setting lights, candle work, or working with oils, or any list of things that I might do. But always that first reading, if it's for root work, that it's always going to be all about assessment. And that hour is really about assessment.
Well, I just have to say that as you were talking, there was this large lightning crack that just kind of came through the phone. So for everybody who heard that, I just want you to know.
I couldn't hear it.
There are natural forces at work here on the show every single week. So anyway.
Ryan, when you're working with someone, how does if it's a cultural curse that they're carrying with them through the family lineage, is there something that, is it simply through your meeting with them and talking with them, or is it, do you sense it or feel it when you start to work with them?
That's a great question. I often can, within the first 15, 20 minutes of just some interaction with them, can pick up whether this belongs to them or rather, I should say, whether it originates with them, whether they stepped in something, right, got something on them, some spiritual condition that's not theirs, but they stepped in it, or whether this was something that's been passed on, by their ancestors to them. And by the way, the ancestors, when they pass such things on, whether it's a health things or whether it's prosperity things, and when I say things, meaning spiritual maladies, they don't do this intentionally to harm us because they love us. It's in the culture of the family, and it may have been going on for generations. So usually I get a feel for that very quickly because I'm also listening to my ancestors and those spirits that walk with me when I'm doing work with people. And so it starts to get pretty clear whether this belongs to them, whether it came out of a traumatic event in their life, whether it was passed on ancestrally, or whether it was, sort of through contagion, coming into an area that had a certain kind of spirit presence that got on them that wasn't good for them, or whether they're living with folks, because sometimes they may have to do a whole house cleansing. So it's not just cleanse themselves, it's like pushing the reset button.
Oh, that's interesting.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I do too. Well,
I just love the computer language. I don't understand it a lot, But I love this concept of virus scanning and defragging.
I wish I could be defragged. I'll tell you.
Just push the button.
But what you have to say is so unique, and things that I hadn't thought about, and yet they come across as very simplistic, and yet the depth of them is so deep. Can a person in the same family, shall we say, when you say a curse is a cultural curse is set in a specific thing, does it take in all people in the family, or we'll just say mother, father, sister, brother, whatever? Does it take in all of them at a given time, or is it maybe only one or two of them?
Well, and it depends on the family. I've seen there's things where it seems to only affect the men or only affect the women, depending on what the traumas were and how they worked in that family. But then I've seen things that were predictable, like I mentioned the Great Depression. This one man came just absolutely distraught because no matter, he would achieve a certain level of success in his career, and then it would all fall apart. And I did a reading for him. I'm looking at this. I said, did your grandfather kill himself? And he said, yeah, he did. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. And I said, and it was over money. And he said, well, yes, it was. It was because he lost everything in the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. Well, what then happened was this sort of a entanglement, this knot, come into the spirit of the family, specifically related to the men and the subsequent generations. And from what I could tell, most of them had never tried to really achieve very far. He wanted to achieve further in his in his prosperity, in his career, but that seemed to set it off, almost like an alarm system. And so every time he hit a certain point, so what we were getting was the trauma passed down by the granddad.
So did you find, were you able to release this from his energy field?
Oh, yeah. Now, the thing is, with some of these, depending on how long the spiritual malady has been there, it's sort of like when I was gardening with my mom as a kid. She told me, and they called me Mike as a kid, and said, Mike, when you weed the garden, you got to get the roots. You got to pull all the roots up. I said, because if you don't, then the weed will come back with more vigor. So with work like, for instance, with this guy, we couldn't just simply mow the lawn. We couldn't simply just go over the top, say, here, do this one little bath, and that'll do it. We had to do a series of work where he was doing spiritual cleansing, he was doing prayers. We had to engage his ancestors. I had to teach him some ancestral work. You'll notice the ancestral subject keeps coming up, coming out my mouth a lot. It's because traditional root work and conjure always is working with the ancestors, always. Or as they call them, those who walk with you, always. So, yeah, but we got it cleared. It took a little while, and because he had experienced those traumas, like a little child who's been, hit, and then grows up and may dodge any time a hand gets near the face, even though the trauma happened as a kid, but the reaction's still inside of the body. We can still have reactions in our spirit. So we had to work on not only then the ancestral part with this man, but then clearing his spirit of the trauma and seeing a way out and continuing to grow that.
So it sounds like it took a little bit of time, and it wasn't just one session. It sounds like a very deeply seated situation. But, again, people can call you. They can discuss with you anything about having a session, a treatment plan, whatever, from this very powerful place that you work. And I think it's very exciting work that you do. You must meet some fascinating people in your practice.
Well, I have been really blessed that way. Both the people who come for help, but also, my students, and then just other root workers and other spirit workers, through my life walk, because I'm on the road a lot, teaching, and I do encounter a lot of people. What I'm referring to as a root work, which is a classic Southern and African American term. A root worker you're going to find in almost every culture, or probably every indigenous culture worldwide. The simple folk practitioners, and what we often call the shaman. I tried to come, when I wrote this, I really wanted to get folks a little out of their head and into their heart when they were reading this, and to keep as folk with the wisdom as possible. Because though we've got the internet, we've got the busy things in the world now, which are wonderful things, the core of life hasn't really changed, and it never will. Meaning the things that we're really seeking in life that are the deepest and most meaningful to us, that bring us joy. And we still seek love, we still seek health, these kinds of things. Or as the 4 points of the Crossroads, as I learned them, life, death, luck, and love. Those 4 things are ultimately still at the core of everything we seek. And that doesn't really change. And people go, well, I'm not seeking death. Well, yes, you are. We're all seeking to end things so that we can begin things.
That's right. Just to be a death, to be a new beginning, to be a birth. Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you. There's a couple questions in the chat room. They've been very patient with me. One person wants to know, what is hoodoo?
Hoodoo is an African American practice. I didn't grow up with the word hoodoo, but certainly hoodoo is a very similar practice. Hoodoo is it's at its core African. It's also working with the Bible, just like I was saying. You'll find with that working a lot more with powders and herbs and candles. Hoodoo grew mostly out of 30s, 40s, and 50s, 1930s, 40s, and 50s in America, and is a post-emancipation practice. When you start looking at conjure anywhere where the slave belt was, you have to think of colonial, slave, during the colonial time, that covers that. So colonial, emancipation, or Reformation period. Hoodoo comes more out of post-emancipation and Reformation.
So is it let me, oops, more lightning, sorry.
Oh, that one I heard.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, God, I hope it doesn't, actually reach the phone to, talk to me in another way. But anyway, I don't want to have to call 911. But some people think of hoodoo as something negative, but it isn't necessarily negative.
Oh, no. In fact, by the way, there's another author, Kat Ironwood, who is really the leading author, one of the leading authors out there on hoodoo. That's sort of like magic. Is it good or is it evil? Is it what? Magic just is, and don't blame the magic on how it's worked. Hoodoo, conjure, all of these things can be used for bad, but at their core, they're not. Electricity can also be used for good or bad,
Yes, we're finding that out.
Hoodoo is a very traditional term. That's a very traditional and a very honored term.
Now, I have another question for you in the chat room. This person wrote in and they said, what about the place that you live? Does it choose you? You may think you're choosing the place to live, but actually the place is choosing you.
That's an awesome question. I definitely feel that to be true. That when we find ourselves moved to live in places, we'd like to think, well, I moved there because the price was good or whatever. But I think it's much deeper. The spirit of place does pull us to place, to a sort of co-creative relationship with the spirit of place. I totally agree with them.
So
but never forget,
really nice
you're
to know that.
still made out of wherever you were born. So try to, keep a relationship somehow with wherever you're born, and wherever the bulk of your ancestors are buried. Even if that relationship is not necessarily about living there, but to try to have some of the soil of that place. On your altar.
Now, what about the people who don't know who their ancestors are? I mean, there are some people that, were adopted or they didn't know one parent or the other. So when you work with these people, do you find that more of a challenge, or it might be more of a challenge for them? I don't know.
Well, it's more of a challenge for their head, because what the brain wants is to be able to label things and one part of our brain wants to be able to label and identify, and that does bring us comfort. But the ancestors know who we are. We don't need to name. When I go to my ancestor altar, plus we only, even including Ancestry.com, right? Ancestry.com, we don't know all of our ancestors anyway. When I go to my altar, I often will pray out and say, to those wise and redeemed ancestors who love me, those known and unknown, seen and unseen, named and unnamed, and I pray for them, and I pray to them. I
love that prayer. That is beautiful.
That's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Can you say that again?
Absolutely. I'll go to my altar and I'll say to those ancestors, or often say those holy ancestors who walk with me and who love me, those known and unknown, named and unnamed, seen and unseen. And then I'll pray for them, and I'll pray for them. And that I'll pray for them, and then I'll pray to them. That is a core practice that I learned that I have not seen in conjure practices elsewhere in America. So I don't know if that was something. I'm not saying it's not there, but I'm thinking it was something localized, and that was praying for your ancestors. Sometimes lighting a candle for them, as we call setting lights, to draw down the light of spirit, and then pray that they find the seeking of their soul. Pray that they find the healing of their spirit. Pray that they know that you praise them, that you are honored, that they walk with you, But pray for them. They're not done living.
And it's interesting. Do you feel that our ancestors are somehow bound to us and then bound to help us?
I mean,
some people have some nasty ancestors.
Well, that's true. Just if someone was a real, a-hole when they're alive and then died, now they're a deceased a-hole. They're not.
Right. It doesn't change all that much that fast. That's
why I often say those holy ancestors and those who love me. And always have a higher power that you work with. Whether that's the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, whether that's some other sacred name from some other tradition, but pray in the name of whatever that sacred spirit is that you work with, meaning that higher spirit, and then pray for the ancestors to help you. But see, the Christian workers, which all the ones I grew up were Christian workers, they continued to, whatever they prayed for, they prayed in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, or they would pray down the blood of Jesus, which is the power, upon themselves, and pray for that to fall down upon them, and to anoint the work that they do, and to cover them against all maladies and wicked spirits. So I think the core spirits we got to be working with. The first one is we got to be working with our own. I swear, folks too often treat their spirit as this very esoteric thing, when actually it's closer than our breath, and we want to be in a discipline and growing that, and cleansing that and healing that and keeping it whole and fed. Then always be in a relationship with the larger spirit, by whatever way you see the larger spirit, God, the goddess, whatever, the great spirit, and your ancestors. Those are your first three areas, I think, above all. And then, of course, we all know there's other helper spirits, there's other spirits that walk with us, some of which we'll never know because they're not trying to be known. They're just for whatever sacred reason, they're a part of the overall wholeness of our lives, and they walk with us, right? We'll know the touch of their hand. Like I have spirits that walk with me who I know, but then I have spirits that I can only feel their presence. But I know those times that I'm stumbling and I'm falling, that they're holding me up because I can feel them. But by some form of grace, they don't want to be known. They just are, maybe in some ways they're living through me, or some other act of spiritual grace.
But you feel their help and their concern. So that's a wonderful gift.
Absolutely. But those nasty ancestors, they're the ones you need to pray for the most.
Oh, yeah.
They're the ones that need the cleansing, the most,
Absolutely. They need that and more. So, oh, my goodness. But, Orion, this has been great. I can't thank you enough because I know you weren't feeling all that well a little bit earlier. Hope you're feeling better. And thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank goodness. And, it's just such a pleasure speaking with you. You have so much wisdom and so much experience. It's wonderful for our audience to be able to listen to what you have to say. And, again, I'm going to highly recommend your book, The Candle and the Crossroads, a book of Appalachian conjure and Southern root work by Orion Foxwood. And, people, you can go to Orion's website, which is orionfoxwood.com, and you also have a fairy oil there for sale that I bought some of it. I can't wait to try it. And you have a way for people to schedule sessions with you personally, and you also teach classes in case people want to study with you. So you have a lot going on that people can feel free to participate in. It's just great stuff, and we definitely want you to come back, Orion, when you're feeling better, and you can tell us all about your fairy book. We have a lot of people in our audience.
Oh, I would
very
love
interested.
to. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, if folks should check out Crossroads, which is a organization that I'm a part of that puts on 2 annual events. We have one coming up in November 9th through 12th in New Orleans, where we, the 5 of us, teach workshops on Southern and other forms of conjure and root work for its helping and healing benefits. So check us out. That's at folkmagicfestival.com. That might be something
marvelous.
Yeah, another exciting thing to do. That's great.
Right. Marvelous. This has been a joy.
It has been. It has been fun. Oh, my goodness. Well, Orion, we're going to let you go get some rest so that you feel better and can go on with your day tomorrow. And thank you so much for spending your evening with us here on Supernatural Girlz. We can't wait to have you back.
Thank you. It's been a true honor. Many blessings to you and to all the listeners.
Thank you. Thank you, Orion.
Thank you so much.
Well, I got to tell you what, Patricia, this has been a wonderful evening, despite the fact I almost got electrocuted like a million times from this lightning.
Oh, go ahead and act out your part.
Oh, my gosh. But
God's
you know
not
what?
ready for you yet.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I didn't get fried, so that's a good thing.
No, you got too many things to do. You're not going anywhere.
I guess, and not letting me go. But you know what? I kind of been a bad girl tonight. I was supposed to announce many times, and I didn't even announce it once until right now, please, everybody, go to supernaturalgirls.com and make sure that you are following us on Twitter. We are sending out some really cool tweets and photos and things like that. Like us on Facebook, sign up for our newsletter. Just be a part of our community so that you can keep up with everything that's going on. And believe me, there is a lot to come, and we want you to be a part of it. So please sign up and follow us and do all those wonderful things. And then, I don't want to forget to say this. Patricia, next week you are going to be here doing live readings for everybody for free.
It's going to be fun. All I'll need from them is a birth name or a birth date. I don't need anything else.
Wow, and I know from there you're going to give some great insight. So we hope everybody will mark this date a week from tonight on your calendar, because you can have a free reading from world-famous numerologist astrologer Patricia Kirkman. So please make sure you call in, because this is your chance to hear from a truly great person in the field. And
you're
get
so
some,
sweet.
Well, it's all true, and get some real insight on your life. So here it is, people. It's coming up next week. Helene will be back with us from her wonderful vacation, and we are going to be like the Three Musketeers here. So
you got it. It's going to be fun. Even
It'll
things
be fun.
You didn't think
it
you
always
wanted to
is.
know, you'll find out.
Yes, that's right. So I can't wait to have you back again next week, Patricia. Thank you so much for being
welcome.
my co-host tonight. You did a terrific job. It was a pleasure for me. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It was a joy, and he is an absolute doll.
He's wonderful. My goodness, I feel so honored that we had him on our show. And like I said, we've got to have him back to talk about fairies. We have so many people that are fascinated by fairies, and he's one of the experts, so we'll bring him back.
So, sounds wonderful. I'm in line to watch or listen.
Yes, well, you'll be here with us. So anyways, everybody, take care of yourselves, be safe, many blessings, and we'll be talking with you next week. Good night, Patricia.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural Girlz.